When God's love has been made evident in my life, I think about 10 years ago when I first gave my life to Him.
When my son was born,
I was in my late 20s. I was battling a lot of loneliness in my life.
I grew up in a pretty rough household, so I had a lot of unforgiveness towards a lot of people, but mostly my parents.
Kids just kind of being kids treated me as an outsider because I wasn't part of the group already.
I felt like really lonely because I didn't know anyone and I didn't have people I was talking to all the time.
I was in a relationship of 5 years, and in that relationship I dealt with a lot of abuse.
God spared my life and my freedom many of times.
Grew up in a very broken, abusive home with a lot of violence, a lot of drugs.
Former manager of mine took me and my coworkers out for lunch, and I remember just feeling like I wanted to leave this job. It's not for me.
I was in my second year of college, and I was in a very, very dark place. The different things that I was learning in class just really made me very confused about my identity, about the identity of Christ, who God was.
At a certain point, I remember looking in the mirror and just really not recognizing who I was anymore, and what I believed in, or even what my standards were anymore.
It was a back and forth of being undervalued and then not being treated well, back and forth.
I went to a revival, and the preacher felt that the Lord told the people who were in the congregation that God wasn't going to move unless we release unforgiveness from our hearts. So we did a prayer line, and as soon as he said, come to the front and get prayer for any unforgiveness in your heart, I felt the Holy Spirit tug on me.
I was looking for something or someone, and I started doing self-help books and drinking a lot and doing a lot of drugs, and I had an encounter with the Lord.
I'm sitting in this restaurant at this table with these guys, and then this is where God shows His love, where you see this big, 6'2", 6'3" guy come in with a stroller, and it's my brother-in-law and my nephew. At that moment, I had kind of like an outer body experience where I felt like I was just sitting at the wrong table, and there was God's love at the other table that meant more to me.
I prayed. God really touched my heart in that moment. I began to stop behaviors that I had started and really seeking the Lord with my whole heart again in my life. And about 2 weeks later, I found out that I was pregnant with my beautiful baby girl.
I remember telling God, help me get out, save me from this. And it was not even more than a week later that relationship ended, and it saved my life.
People who were doing the same things around the same time, where they would get caught, where they would get arrested, where they may even lost their life. But for me, His grace and mercy definitely watched over me.
I made a friend at school, and I started going to youth group, and I made friends there.
Summer after 9th grade, when I met a few more people who were just nice to me, just to be nice to me. There was no incentive behind it or wishy-washiness behind it. They just were. And that eventually led to me getting serious about getting saved.
In that very dark place, and just a hole that was void of anything, any purpose, any meaning, any love, any connection to anything, any reason for anything in life. And that's where He met me. That's where He kind of went down in there, down in my heart, down in my soul. And when I heard Him call me His daughter, that was when I really felt His embrace. I felt His love.
I never experienced love from that perspective. I always knew what it was to have love for your father, but I never knew what love was as a dad.
It was in that moment, everything that I had experienced, that had been done to me, that I had done, it was like it was washed clean. It didn't matter. I was free to be with the Lord.
After I was done with it, I reconnected with God. I I started and focused on that relationship. And since then, my life has never been the same.
If I go to the front, as soon as I go to the front, I mean, I just crumble. Like I can't even hold myself up. Like I'm like trembling under the presence of God. And God started to purge, unforgiveness from my heart. And then he just began to tell me how much he loved me and just show me how much he loved me. Like right then and there, a physical manifestation and of feeling God's presence in the form of his love.
What could have been a very hard season of my life, being a single pregnant woman, became a beautiful testimony of God's love and his redemption.
My love for my son is completely, it's indescribable and completely unconditional. And I know that God's love for us goes even further than that.